Hello and welcome to HackaSCOM 2022, Day 2, the ultimate clash of the titans, where a hackathon meets SCOM. And it's with great pleasure that I'm here to take you through today's event. First, let's just see our sponsors once more, who are Squared Up, who make awesome dashboards for SCOM and beyond. We'll be hearing more about Squared Up later on today. Then we have Cookdown, integrating SCOM with all of the places you want to connect on SCOM to, from pushing alerts into other tools to raising alerts in SCOM. And then we have Silect. Silect are the not-so-secret source for MP authoring, making that whole process a lot easier. And with that in mind, I'd like to welcome to the stage Harold from Silect to talk a little bit about MP University. Hey, Harold.
Hey, Bruce. Good to be here. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to seeing the results from today. But yeah, talking about MP University, we're really excited to announce that MP University and SCOMathon are joining forces. And as some of you are aware, that MPU has been running for a while, since 2016, and really providing the premier learning event for SCOM management pack authoring. SCOMathon, launched by Cookdown and Squared Up a few years ago, has really grown to be the biggest, most vibrant community of SCOM users. And so I think collectively we felt really strongly that bringing the organizations together and bringing the events together is really going to produce the best of breed for SCOM users, whether it's resources or learnings or what have you. We're super excited to be working together. Looking forward to our next event, but we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We've got a great event coming up today, and looking forward to seeing the results.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you very much, Harold. I couldn't agree more. It's one of those cases where we're better together. We both have areas that we can tackle, and I think we'd do it better together. So I'm really looking forward to our partnership as we work on these events.
Awesome. We're excited about it.
Absolutely. Let's have a look a little bit at where we are so far with the challenge. So what is the challenge? What are we trying to get people to do today? So we have a single challenge for each of our 3 contestants. We have a 24-hour clock, which we set going yesterday's event for our 3 contestants, as I just said. We have 3 judges to judge the winner, essentially. And right now, we're sort of almost 24 hours in. So, our contestants are basically out of time. So very soon, we'll be seeing what they've built, which I'm really looking forward to. This is the highlight of my calendar when it comes to SCOM. I love SCOM in this. But before we get into anything along those lines, I'd like to welcome to the stage Sean Williams from Squared Up. Hello, Sean. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Good afternoon.
Good. So, Sean, you're going to take us through an alternative to management packs, which is going to be great to hear. As we all know, management packs are very powerful, but they're also super fiddly to build.
They are. They can be.
They can be. So I'll leave it to you to take it away, Sean. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Slides for me, so don't go too far.
Indeed.
All right. So, as everyone knows, SCOM is great. SCOM, I really can't even begin to talk about SCOM because I just love SCOM. But as you know, it's the best of breed modeling solution. It's probably everywhere in your infrastructure, and it's extremely extensible. Those are the 2 things that we love about SCOM. And of course, we're here for SCOMathon. We're building management packs. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just don't have the time, or you don't have the skill, or you have a team that just isn't interested in helping you write a management pack to get that data into SCOM natively so that you can interact with it. And so that's what I'm here to talk to you about today from Squared Up. Perfect. SCOM has blind spots. And these are the spots, these are the things that are in your infrastructure that there are no management packs for, that you need to spend the time to write those things to get that visibility into your environment. And I think if you go ahead and start clicking, Bruce, you'll say, perfect. So in your data center, you have VMware, SolarWinds, Nagios, Kubernetes. Now, there are some management packs for these different things, like VMware. There's a couple vendors that are out there. OpsLogic is one. They're really good. NICE has another management pack. They're also really good. And then, of course, there's Veeam, which is really expensive. Sometimes you have the money to invest in those tools. Sometimes you don't. SolarWinds, they have a management pack that mostly works. Nagios, Kubernetes, I don't know that there is one. Go ahead and click for me again, Bruce. And then, of course, we have the cloud. All this fun stuff over here in the cloud. the cloud changes every day. So I know there's no management packs for a lot of this kind of stuff. So what do you do? How do you manage for all of this? And go ahead and click again. And we're going to start the demo, but believe it or not, I actually have 2 more slides that I did not put in your deck. But if you just switch to my screen, I will show them. All right, so I'm going to set this up. If the demo gods are willing, I'll have an interesting demo today. We'll see if this works live. So what we're going to do is we're going to use SquaredUp's new EAMX license tier. And this connects to SCOM. So what we're going to do first is we're going to define the problem. We have a customer. It doesn't matter who, doesn't matter what they're doing, doesn't matter. All the specifics really don't matter. But the short of it is they want to know what's going on with their application. You have stuff. So our challenge is we have a server that's hosted in VMware. We do not have a VMware management pack. However, there is a SCOM agent on the VM, so we know what's going on inside, but not what's happening outside. We also want to know what's happening in the network layer. What do we know about the network layer? Well, we know nothing because networking won't give us access to their tools. However, they're going to give us a CSV. So the image on the right shows us our CSV file. We show the Windows OS, and then we have SCOM, which has all of our other agents. And we're going to toggle to the next slide. And here what we're going to do, we're going to try live to walk through our solution. So we're going to use EAMX. Some pieces I've had to do ahead of time just for time, because sometimes when you put a management pack into SCOM, it takes a while to cook, and then you get your overrides. But I'll walk through all of that. But what we're going to do is we're going to set up a relay, and we're going to use the PowerShell plugin in SCOM's EAMX tier to ingest the CSV and then create objects, which we'll bring down into SCOM. We're going to then add the VMware plugin, and then we're going to add those objects to a dashboard and ingest those back down into SCOM. And if we have time, we'll install the SCOM plugin, and I can start to show an interesting way to create monitors in EAMX. All right, so let's move this out of the way. Perfect. Need my little steps to implement. What we're going to do is we're going to start in SCOM. And I was always told never show the SCOM console in a demo because it will go wrong. But fingers crossed. What we're going to do is we're going to import from disk our EAMX management pack. Now, the title of the presentation is without management packs, but you do need a management pack because that's how SCOM works. So it's kind of one of those little fiddly things. But we're going to install the SquaredUp Cloud connector. And here's where I would say install, but I already have it installed. And I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. But once it's installed, we will have a new management pack. So we're going to come down here to accounts. I've created my authentication already, where I just added a name, added the password. Now the password is created in SquaredUp Cloud. So if you remember from our steps, we had signed up for the EAMX license tier. So let's toggle out to here. So I've already signed into SquaredUp Cloud. We're going to click Settings. We're going to go to API key. We're going to create a new key. You can give it a name, give it a description, and then generate the key. I've already done this, but I'm going to walk through the steps. Generate key. Here's my key. This is what I would put in the password field. I would then say, OK. I can go ahead and close this, and then it would show up. I'm going to delete this. Here's the key. So I'm going to go back over to here. And OK, so I think I actually showed. All right. All right, so there's our key. We're going to go to Profiles, and we're going to go to Cloud. We're then going to go Next. We're going to add our cloud key, all objects, and save. And so what this will do is it will connect SCOM to the squared up cloud. So that's what the EAMX management pack does. And so what we're going to do is we're going to toggle over to the cloud here. And as you can see, I have nothing in my workspaces. And if I toggle over to SCOM again, we have a squared up cloud hive. And as soon as SCOM comes back to me, it says busy. It should have no workspaces. And so that is the hard part. Now, I did skip a little bit of settings around how to set up the account, but that's in our documentation. All right, so here's our workspaces. So now we're connected, but we have no data. And so what we need to do is our very first task was to do the CSV. So let's go have a look at the CSV. So I'm going to toggle over to VS Code here. And here is the CSV that the networking team is giving me. And so what I can see is they have a device ID, they have a device name, and it looks like they have a relationship information. So this is ID 2. It's related to 9123. I can see, well, 9123 is not there. There we go, 9223. And then I can see the health status, looks like a comment, and then an ignore flag. This was the metadata that they told me about when they gave me the file. And so, actually, oh, that's the math building. Let's see, math. Let's fix that. Perfect. All right. So here's our text file. What we need to do is we now need to write a PowerShell script. So following the directions for the plugin, which we haven't even looked at yet, I'm going to read that file. Here's my header. Put it into 2 arrays. Here's how the devices relate to each other. And then I just stuck it in a for loop. Create the vertices, create the edges. I'm not going to go into what those mean right now, but I'll talk about them in a minute. And then I just output those. So let's toggle over to our workspace. We're going to go to settings, plugins, PowerShell. All right, we're going to call this PS Networking. Oh, I skipped a really big piece. Let's talk about that for just a second. And get objects. All right. Right here is the agent group. So what I skipped was setting up the agent. So let me cancel this. We're going to go back to relay. All right. So let me bring back the slide real quick. And so what I'm showing here over in the diagram is we have to set up a relay to talk to EAMX. And so on my virtual machine, where this CSV exists, I set up a relay. And you can think of relays as like SCOM gateways. You can put as many as you need in your infrastructure and have them talking to the cloud. So if you have segregated networks or you have places that are distributed that are outside of your normal network, you can just put a relay out there, ingest the information you need, and send it back up to the cloud. So the very first relay that we're going to stick here is on a VM in my local Hyper-V cluster that's actually in my house. And then what we're going to do is set up another relay that sits on a server within Squared Up, and both are going to talk to EAMX. And so we're just going to talk about how that's already done. So I went ahead and logged onto the server, installed the relay, and configured it. So let me come back to here. And so what we can see when we go to relay is here's the relay. This exists on my machine, and here's its API key. And then I assign it to a group, and I just called it the name of the Hyper-V cluster, and then assigned the relay to that group. So now when we go to the plugin, now we can do this. Networking. So the scripts are copied to a local directory called do south and scripts. And then it says get objects is our import. And so let's go back to here. That was get objects. And then we're going to go local machine. I'm going to click save. And in a second, that relay is going to get instructions from the cloud, say, hey, go run that script. And then when I click back to app, we'll now have a new workspace. And here's our data. And here are the devices that it brought in. And if we click on math, we should see a relationship. Let's actually go back to Hovde. So here's our building, Hovde. Here's Hovde. Here are all the devices. If we take a look at our code, here was Hovde. It had a device ID of 9131. That was these devices. So it goes West Lafayette is the city campus, and then it goes to the building Hovde, and then Hovde has these devices. And as you can see, Squared Up brought them all in. So this is in the cloud. It's not in SCOM yet. So this is interesting. This is neat how we can get it with PowerShell real quick into the knowledge graph, which is good, but it doesn't help us in SCOM because still in SCOM, we have nothing here. But as you'll see, we see PS networking, but it's not monitored. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the cloud. We're going to go right here to dashboards. We're going to say, I want to know about Hovde Hall of Administration, and I want custom PowerShell. I want wrong thing. It's not working. Device. I want Hovde. Here are all of the devices. Now, the data stream is empty at the moment. We have no health. What do we do? So I'm going to actually discard this for the moment. So we're going to go back to settings. We're going to go to data streams. We're going to add a new data stream. And here we're going to just say health, select the plugin, custom PowerShell. We're going to send it the list scope, and then we create this. And we do that with this little fancy JSON here, which is described in the documentation. And basically what it says is we're going to get the health status. We're going to match on the different device types that we imported. And we did that in get objects. Now I'm glossing over a lot of this just because we're limited on time. And then we're going to return the state of the object and its IDs. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to put that in here. Save. Here's the health. Back to the app. Hovde Hall of Administration. Configure. Custom PowerShell. Device. Now we see health, custom PowerShell. If I click that, here's the health of our devices. Now let's go look at that. What did that do? When I put that JSON there, it was going to run a script called getHealthStatus.ps1. GetHealthStatus.ps1 receives a scope from the cloud, which I just read in. I then read in that text file that the networking team is giving me. I just figure out what the health status is and write it right back out. And here we are. So I click save. Here's the health status. Now, this is neat. If we go back to our workspaces and I do a refresh here, I actually go to dashboards. We have our overview dashboard and the Hovde Hall of Administration dashboard. So if I click on workspaces you can see that it just has a default state of healthy. But if we take a look at the cloud, we can see that there's an unknown status at the moment. What we want to do is we want to say, for our application, we don't want any switches to be down. So we want to know about any switch. So what we're going to go do is go back to our tile. We're going to click on monitoring. We're going to turn on monitoring, check its state every 5 minutes. We click save. And in a moment, that tile will go green. That will go green. And in our SCOM dashboard, we will have Hovde Hall will go green in just a few minutes. All right. So we now have all of our CSVs loaded up into Squared Up Cloud, and we have monitoring set up on all of the devices. We have a building defined with the dashboard. Well, that's good, but now we need to get VMware. So we're going to go back to our plugins, add a plugin. Now, again, in the case of VMware, it exists on-prem. So we need to reach into the on-prem with the relay and then connect to vSphere. And so I've already went ahead and taken care of that install. And we're just going to say VM vCenter here. We're going to go over to here. And let's see. I need some information. Here we go. It's rather than typing, because I could screw it up. All right, so in this case, we have another group called US region that has an agent that exists in a completely different place. And let me scroll down just to make sure. Workspace, restrict, nope, we're good. I click save. So now that relay receives information and says, hey, go log into vSphere and pull back all of the objects that vSphere knows about. And of course it failed. What did we get? Come on. Perfect. Not sure what happened there. We go back to app. We now have a new workspace called VM vCenter. And here's virtual machines, data stores, hosts. If I click new dashboard, we're going to say SQL servers. Now we're going to pretend, based on our original problem setup, let me bring that back, that we have a server that has a SCOM agent, but exists on VMware. So we want to know how it's behaving in VMware. So the name of the server, in this case, that we know about is hosts. And we're going to use the SQL server. And we're going to do its health for there you go. Okay, so we're going to keep just that one SQL server, and we're going to just say save. All right, so there's the health of our SQL server. Let's go back to here, edit tile. There we go. We're going to add a new metric. So configure. We're going to use the same scope, which is that server. And this time we're going to add CPU usage. And there's our line graph. And as you can see, for the last, was it 24 hours, it hit 70% last evening. But what we're going to do is we're going to say turn on monitoring. I want a threshold. I don't want it to top out. If it gets greater than, let's put the warning at 70 and put this at 90. And we're going to click save. And so we now have a monitor on that. We did not put a monitor on the health state, so let's add that. Let's go back to monitoring, keep on state, save that. All right, so now we're monitoring the health state of the server in VMware and its CPU usage in VMware, which is different than the agent in SCOM. All right, so we now have that, and then we have the networking. So now let's go back. We're going to create a new workspace, and I'm going to call this customer application. We're going to add a new dashboard. And what we're going to do here is we're going to add custom PowerShell. Let's do again. Nope. Actually, I'm doing this incorrectly. I don't have to do anything here, because here's our two workspaces, VMware. So let me actually delete this workspace. I forgot what I was doing. Workspace is customer application, delete. Perfect. All right, so we have those two things. Go back to SCOM. Here's our VS networking and VMware. If we go to dashboards, in a moment, we should see. Perfect. And I'll bet you nope, I called it SQL Server's good. And health state, oh, perfect. All right, and refresh. So here's SQL servers. Perfect. Okay, so now we have objects in SCOM, and we want to create a customer dashboard for them in Squared Up. So we're going to go back to Squared Up, and we're going to create a dashboard. And what we can do now is we can just do two tiles, and we can grab SQL servers. And we also have one button like that. Go here, and we had, okay, so both of these states will roll up to SQL servers. And now on our SCOM dashboard, that rolls up to here. And then in the other side, let's actually call that here. We're going to grab our networking. And then status, blocks, list. And blocks. Done. All right, so now the customer has a dashboard that shows, hopefully if I spell things right, PH, and we're health status, networking, and then we can add another block, and then we're going to do status and blocks and list. Cool. So now we have a dashboard. This is not the prettiest dashboard in the world, but what it demonstrates is blocks. Let's go back, make that one and done. Perfect. What it demonstrates is we can now get health information from VMware. We are getting health information from a text file that the networking team is sending us. And we also have SCOM health. So one dashboard shows all of the information in one place. And we have all of those objects in SCOM. Didn't have to write a management pack, just had to write some simple PowerShell code to get to the CSV. But other than that, everything came together. And we do have some sample dashboards, so we can click on Squared Up Cloud Overview, and these are refreshed automatically. We can look at that workspace, VMware. Here are the overview dashboards. If we click on SQL Server, we can see the different tiles. And so if one of the tiles, let's say the average percent goes red, we can actually drill into that in SCOM, see that that goes red, and then that will actually link us back out to the cloud by clicking on View in Squared Up Cloud. And so we get most of the information back into SCOM, so you can build the dashboards, build your monitors, or if you wanted to create your monitors in SCOM, you could do that too. It all comes together really simply. So we don't actually have to spend the time to start collecting that information or trying to figure out how to build the management pack so you get the discovery and the monitors and the rule and manage state. All of that's taken care of for you. And what we just did here was just 2 different plugins, but it could be as simple as adding a third plugin for Datadog and adding more data sources. So you can just start to extend your infrastructure into Nagios, as I mentioned, Datadog, into Grafana, and then you can just start to consume those in SCOM natively. And then using Squared Up, you can also create those dashboards. What we're going to do at this point is if we go to VMware vCenter, we have SQL Server here. If we edit on this dashboard again, we're going to go to Settings. We're going to click on, nope, I need KPIs. Here we go. All right, so we have a KPI status. We're going to go back. We're going to click on SQL Server. We're now going to click this. We're going to edit this tile. We're going to give it a KPI. We're going to say yes. What can we call this? This was our SQL Server. And it's just the status. We're going to click Save. And now that we've done that, well, actually, let's do this one too. And close that. So now we have KPIs. Give that a minute to cook. Here's our average CPU usage. It's running well. If we come back to workspaces, here we go. We can start to link up all of the different workspaces. And then when you go back into SCOM, you'll start to see more of that health state come down, and you can start to get a better feel for how your infrastructure is working. And again, this was all done through a couple different relays and a couple just simple PowerShell scripts. And if you wanted, we could go back into Squared Up, and I could create that new dashboard. I could actually create an enterprise application at this point. And then here I could put a B. I don't want the relationship. SQL Server. And the last object we had was working. Was Hub D, VMware. Nope, I actually needed SQL servers. Perfect. VMware, perfect. Okay, so we now had those 3 objects. I can put them on the dashboard. Here's the SQL server. I can just click save. Again, not the prettiest, but it's a demonstration of what you can do really quickly with the tools. And so in your day-to-day, somebody comes to you and says, hey, I have this app. It's sitting over here. How can we start to monitor that? A couple of little scripts, consume the data. We have plugins for SQL Server, a lot of the different databases, PowerShell. You can do analytics. Once all the data is inside of SCOM, you can then report on it normally, and they show up as objects, which is the coolest part of this whole thing. And let me go to do this off screen. I have the relay, and I'm going to modify one of the devices to go red. So now, go back to squared up here, networking. I'm going to force this to run a little faster by going to settings, plugins. No, I actually don't need to. Back to the app, Hubdy Hall. And in a minute, we should see Hubdy 231F go red. But we'll give that a minute because that runs every 5 minutes. So we have to give that a few minutes to run. While that's running, I can close. I can close. Here we go. And now we should be able to go customer application. All right, so that's still cooking. Okay, so here's the slow part about SCOM. We now have to let this cook. But hopefully in just a minute, it should all work out. Tiles. Nope. All right. Yeah, it's going to take longer than we have time for today, but it should. Come on. Perfect. Here's red. If we go back to SCOM, nope, that's going to take a minute. Once the EAM is going to take a few minutes to cook, and that's just SCOM doing its thing. But at least we now know that it went red, and of course I did not set the health correctly because I did not tell it on monitoring frequency, column state. Well, I did something wrong. Well, I think in my haste to put it all together, I missed something. that should have rolled up so that the health went to red, and then that should be red, but it did not occur. So something I did wrong. But the point is, you can now see how we can grab data really quickly. I'm going to toggle back to the slide and then wrap up with getting the full picture. If you're interested, if this demo didn't put you off, what we have are 50 different plugins and more every day. We can integrate everything that is in your infrastructure. We can roll it up. There's alerting, there's SLOs. We can also extend these things into Veda maps, and we can delegate health rollups to other teams, something that I did not demonstrate within the cloud product. But when you do, again, it all flows back down into SCOM, and it's pretty slick how quickly some of these things can be built and shared with other users. If you're curious, take a look at the squareup.com/EAMX, or just drop an email to our team. So, Bruce, are you there?
I am indeed. Hello. Good presentation. Great to see what's possible, and all without really writing any code. Bit of PowerShell, but not required, which is great.
Yeah, that's the coolest part about it. Is PowerShell is only needed if you have something really strange. That's what I wanted to demonstrate today, because we have a different audience here today.
Makes total sense. And I mean, ultimately, PowerShell is going to resonate with the sorts of people who are likely to be here today. So it makes total sense. There is a question that's come in, not entirely related, but it's a dashboarding question. I'll just bring it up on screen now from Sunny. So I think the question is, can we have a management pack that has a dashboard for servers not rebooted in the last 90 or 200 days? I'll let you think about that. And while you're thinking about it, if anyone else has a question, please do put them in the link to the live chat. I'll bring them up on screen in a similar fashion.
Yeah, that actually could be done either with EAMX or native SCOM functionality. It depends on what you're looking for. If you did it with native SCOM, you could write a simple rule to check last reboot date and then notify that way. If you did it in Squared Up Cloud, how would you do that? Well, depending on what your data is. So I don't know.
Yeah, trying to think. Yeah. So there's your answer. If there are any other questions for Sean, please do keep them coming. Thank you very much, Sean. A very cool product. My favorite thing in cloud is KPIs, essentially. A highly
I don't work with those enough. I wanted to show that. And I don't work with them enough, but it can be really, really cool.
There's something very powerful about defining something in one place and flowing it to wherever you want it to be that is just super powerful.
Yes.
And makes total sense to me. Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much, Sean. Have a good rest of day. We'll carry on with the show. Let's see where we are with HackaSCOM. So we've just ticked over 4:05 here in the UK, which means that our 24 hours is now up. We are past our 24-hour period, which means that our contestants monitoring should be completed, which can only mean one thing, and that is it is judging time. So this is my favorite piece of HackaSCOM. We'll start by introducing our judges. So first up, we have Bob. Hello, Bob. Welcome back to the stage. You are an MVP and the managing consultant at Topcore. How are you?
I'm feeling good. I'm excited to see what the contestants have created so far. So time to drop your keyboards and let's see what they have.
Keyboards down, coffee in hand, I would imagine, after a 24-hour period. Good stuff. Good to have you with us. Next up, we have Stoyan. Stoyan, you're also a Microsoft MVP. You're also a senior principal consultant at Poon IT Consultancy, and it's good to have you back with us again today.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you again.
How are you doing? How are you feeling about today?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm also looking forward to the solutions by the contestants, so just cannot wait to see what they have to offer.
Me too. Good stuff. Good to have you with us. And finally, we have Akash. Akash, you are you work for Microsoft again, but you're part of the SCOM product group and you're the program manager there. Good to have you with us, Akash.
I'm glad to be back. Looking forward to the solutions which the participants have. And again, I'm probably this can be some of the inspiration to our product.
Yes, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing what from this could be flowed back into the product. And of course, don't forget the ideas list from yesterday, of course, but it's good to have you with us regardless. Great. So this is the most exciting piece now where we actually dig into the monitoring that our contestants have been building. So with this in mind, judges, stay where you are because we'll be needing your expertise very shortly. We're going to start to dig into those ideas. But first, a reminder that whoever wins today is getting a donation made in their honor, in their name, of $250 to a charity of their choosing. We have three very worthy charities here. We have the South London Christmas Dinner Charity, Barron's Hop, and Fair Kids. So I'll let our contestants talk you through who these charities are and what they mean to them as we go through their solutions. And first up, we have Anders. Welcome, Anders. How are you this day, morning, afternoon?
It's good. I have had some trouble with unexpected power loss to the house, so my SCOM environment went down, and so I don't have any SCOM to use. So I will try to show the intention and everything without SCOM. So that's a challenge.
Oh, that's the worst news. Well, I hope that didn't impair your ability to write stuff.
Of course not. I
That's
have
the main
something,
thing.
but I don't have SCOM.
That's okay. Well, that's the main thing. You have something. So your idea then, just before we get into what you've actually built, that you got assigned by our judges, obviously from the community originally, was file drop MP. First discover a large list of folders, the files themselves, and whether a file exists. Monitor each folder/file for age, size, count of files in folder. How did you find the challenge?
First, I thought it was really easy, but after a while I saw that I needed to do something to take the performance into the thinking. So the server that was executing the monitoring, the heavy lifting, wouldn't be too exhausted. So I tried to make a central probe, or you can say a generic probe for the data source, and then monitors upon that. So
interesting. So this is one of those challenges that on first sight, so when we were discussing this before we assigned them to people, we were discussing how easy this could be, but also how difficult this could be. Judges, what are your thoughts on that? The complexity, the potential complexity.
A potential problem could be, of course, the number of files, their sizes, of course, number of folders also. So like Anders said, the one who is doing the challenge then needs to think about how to solve the problem with, in case there are many files or folders to be discovered, in case they're of large sizes. So that's an interesting thing how one can solve this challenge.
I quite agree. Any other thoughts from the judges?
Yeah, I think so. The idea of this this management pack was also that there are different cases that we are looking for. For example, maybe we are looking for a file in a folder which should be updated every hour or every 5 minutes. So we are checking for the age. It might also be checking if a file exists at all, or maybe that we have a folder with like 1,000 files in it and it's becoming too many. So there's also this gave a little bit of leeway also for the contestant to, a little bit of pick and choose of, what am I going after first. So that makes it also interesting, and gives Anders a possibility to go after the things that he wants to do first.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, another use case that I feel very useful in this kind of MP, it would be the storage optimization. The usage of storage. It could be cloud storage, it could be local storage. The files of bigger sizes causing latency and lagging of the disks. Right. So that's this MP could be helpful in that scenario.
Absolutely, identifying the things that require action being taken Good stuff. Thank you, judges. So before we get into seeing what you built, we caught up last night, Anders, and I took a quick video to capture your thoughts as to how you might approach this challenge. So we're going to play out that video now and then see if the reality compares. So let's play the video now. Okay, so it's now 7:30 in the evening, my time. I'm sat here with a glass of red wine and Anders. We're clearly in evening mode here, and I'm hopefully going to hear what your plan is, Anders. So before we get into that, just remind us, what are you building? What idea did you get?
I got the file.mp, and the text I have is like to discover a large list of folders and the files themselves, and wherever a file exists, and monitor each folder and file for age, size, count of files, or etc. So that was the input I had.
Makes sense. And how are you finding it so far? How are you planning to tackle the challenge?
Still, I'm in the starting blocks, so I haven't found the complete solution yet. But so far, I have developed a number of scripts. I think I'm going to have like more of a rich script with the complexity within it, and simpler, easier integration to SCOM. So it's gives the community or anyone else who wants to change it afterwards to edit the script. I think that's often the easier case than deep diving into SCOM. So that's I think so, and I have I'm going to aim to have like a double input possibility, so you can both make your monitoring input on the management server side and also on the client side. So I think that's going to be a little twist on the solution itself. So
it's a nice twist. I can see the value there for sure. Yeah. Okay, good stuff. And then when you have that script, how would you plan to consume that script?
I think I'm going to do a few monitors within SCOM, and then have lots of options within the monitor itself. So of course it's going to be a 2 or 3-way monitor, but then you have like lots of details behind, so it doesn't get so. I think like this, it's one server, and it is folders and files on that server, and it concerns most of the times the same group or the same persons that going to address the actual actions when it comes an alert. So I think to hold down the alerts in numbers or in variations to get it more like not so noisy. I think if it's going to be too noisy if you have lots of monitors. From the beginning, I thought of having like 20 or 30 monitors on, for example, one file, but that's going to be too complex and too noisy, I think. So.
That makes sense. That's one thing that SCOM is obviously known for, being too noisy. So I think that makes sense in my perspective. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything else that's worth sharing on your thoughts so far?
No, I don't think so for the moment. I hope this is something that the community wants to have, and it's good enough. So
I think it will be. I think going the PowerShell route makes total sense, because as you say, it's easy to tweak, it's easy to refine, and everyone understands PowerShell. It's been around for a very long time, so it would make sense from my perspective. All right. Well, in which case, good to catch up with you. Good luck, and looking forward to seeing what you come up with tomorrow. Very exciting stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great stuff. So you have the plan there. So how does the reality match the plan? And more importantly, how many cups of coffee were drunk?
A few cups of coffee, and I sort of having like a mental meltdown when I got the power loss, because I really had to restart. So I have rewritten some things today. So.
Oh wow! So it wasn't just a case of the demo lab; you actually lost code as a result. That's the worst.
Yes.
That is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. So I guess judges will have to bear that in mind when judging. But I guess now is the point where we see what you've built. So let's bring it up.
Yeah. I have a probe. It's a PowerShell script with a few lines here. I don't think we can go through everything, but it reads one file for the input because I don't have any SCOM, so I have a text file that's placed on this agent that holds the current directories that I want to monitor. And in the file it says either the directory and a semicolon, and then you can add the recurse flag or not, due to what you want to monitor. If you want to monitor the whole subtrees or everything, or just the flat directory. So this is basically the probe, and it the data source, you can say also. And then I have, instead of SCOM, I have a simulate SCOM. It's a window here on the right side. It executes every 30 seconds. That's way too often, but for demo purposes, it's okay. In reality, it's I don't know what's good, but you can decide by yourself. But more like once an hour or once every 15 minutes or once a day or so. And then I have some scenarios that I want to show you the actual thing in action. So for start, I would like to create 30 directories in 3 different, or subdirectories in 3 different directories. And then this is what's going to happen to SCOM. The next execution, it should track the changes and report them to us here. So you can see this as a feed to SCOM, and with the next execution, it says like this. It comes input parameters from the file, and it says what the input is, and it tells us when is it executed on which host, and then it comes the detailed text. It's one of the folders. It's c:\temp. It says that the file counter changed from 160 to 170, and the last write time change, and then you see the different catalogs created, and also for the cookdown directory and for the c:1, it's third directory. And then as the next action, I would like to take away 24 of the 30 directories. So I delete every directory, subdirectory 1 to 8. And then we get the next reaction to SCOM, and it says more or less the same. It tells us which folder has been changed and what have been changed, the file counter and the last write time, and also the details. And then we can have the last 2 catalogs or directories also removed. Then we get a little shorter message.
Anders, did you also have the possibility to take the file size into consideration, or the folder size, or the file size?
Yes, of course. We can take this in the next example. If we, for example, here we just create a file in the cookdown directory. It's create a text file.txt. Then it will tell us that I have found something in the cookdown folder. It has changed the file counter from 4 to 5 because of the new file, and the attribute on the directory is also updated. And then it says the cookdown text file has been written. Then I can add some text to the file. Then it will tell me the details about the file. So we have to wait 30 seconds between every here. Now it comes back from the file editing thing. It says the file size changes from 18 to 48 bytes. And then the last write time also changes. So it's did it answer your question, Soyan?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
And then I take the file away just to show that this is going to be something. It's also tracing. So it will trace that the file is deleted and tell us that the countdown catalog or directory was updated from 5 to 4. That was 2 easy cases. Then we can have like a more complex case. We take, for example, and create a very deep directory structure, and we also create a file in the bottom or in the end of it, and see what comes up, what comes out. So hopefully we will see that it tells us that this is lots of directories created and also a file. And we just have to wait this 30 seconds.
While we're waiting, again, these are for the changes. I'm sorry, there is output. Please go ahead.
Yeah. And here comes the output that it says it creates lots of directories and also a file is created. And it also says that the file counter changes from 0 to 11. So and then we also, of course, can add some data to the file, so we can have like the file information updated, and SCOM is fed by that. And now we can see that the file here at the bottom is changed, but also some catalogs are changed, and that's normal in a file system when it is as deep as this. So, and then as the end, we will remove everything, and then we will have a report from this probe that these are the things that is deleted, and then it's quiet again. So this is the thing that I could recreate today. And,
so this is basically what you would put in the property bag, feeding
yes,
back to SCOM, so you can actually fill like an alert or fill something.
Yeah.
With the information which is passed back here.
Yes.
It's all there.
So,
it is all there. Yeah. Cool. Good stuff.
It's not SCOM. I can't have. I'm sorry, but
That's okay. That's always the thing with anything that involves live and demos in the same sentence. Yeah. You know, sometimes you just have to roll with the punches. But I mean, we can clearly see the solution is there. It does what it's supposed to do, just as you say. No, SCOM. Judges, any other comments?
Yep, I had a question. Again, this is a great solution, Anders. It's looking for all the changes with the time, with the name, with the size, file size, and all of it. Is it also? Are you also looking to, let's say, probe the existing folder structure for a large size and say, hey, these are really large files. Would you want to go ahead and delete them, or at least give a warning saying that these are pretty large files and they're above X amount of size?
Not in the current version, but it's no problem to add this functionality. But it basically tracks changes, And
changes.
so it's the thing that I can't show you now is that it's a two-way discovery. One discovery is from the local agent, so you can, as a server admin, put the files or the folders in the file, and then you have the basic inventory. Or you can do it as a SCOM admin, and it works the same. That's for me, that's important. So you don't have to be limited to the SCOM console to be able to add some monitoring. So you can add it. So yeah.
And clearly all the bits are there. So you could, hook it up to SCOM's existing functionality to alert on file size over a certain file size kind of thing. So, all the components are there to do what you suggest, Akash, which is cool. Yeah. Any other comments, any other thoughts from judges?
I really like the idea of funders, and I would like very much to see it happen, or to see it as a whole solution in SCOM.
Me too.
And I'm just thinking out loud, if I have some spare time in the coming weeks or months, I'll do my best also to do something in this direction. But it's really a nice base. I mean, it's the PowerShell script. With some efforts on top of it, it could really be a great solution for the community. Thank you, Anders.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And that's any closing comments? I'll move on. I'll just bring back up my slides. And just before we move off of you, Anders, we have to mention your charity, Barnsop. So could you tell us a bit more about your charity? Who are they? What do they do? And what do they mean to you?
It's basically it's a non-profit organization that works for the children of Ukraine. That has now when it's war and everything. I think it's very good. They focus on the children and on the people that have a really hard time. So that's, for me, it's important.
Yeah, I don't think you'll find anyone here that could argue with that. That's clearly a very important cause. Well, we wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much. And it looks like a great solution. So let's now move on to Nathan Foreman. Hello, Nathan. Are you there?
I am.
Hello. So Nathan, how did you find the challenge?
Good. It was exciting, just kind of in a different path from where I typically work, but I did run a little short on time. So it's
as is the nature, the 24 hour, the joys of 24 hours.
It's almost as if I was set up to be limited by time to this point today.
Literally by design, yes.
But
okay, cool. Yeah. Just to remind everyone, so this was your challenge. Generate predicted thresholds for a new MP from previously manually set thresholds using AI, ML, SQL history, essentially anything at your disposal. So we again caught up last night and I interviewed you to figure out what your approach would be. So let's play that video back and see if the reality matches what your plan was. Okay, so I'm here with Nathan Foreman now. We're just coming up to 8 o'clock here in the UK, and hopefully you've got an idea of how you're going to tackle your challenge. But before we get on to that, what challenge did you get? And let's hear it in your words in case it's changed slightly, because that happens.
Yeah, well, so I got the challenge to bring some AI and machine learning into SCOM. Originally, it was kind of something to predict and write overrides, and I was struggling with shaping that out. But I'm looking now to use some predictive modeling with machine learning to give you an idea of when you might cross a threshold without actually having to wait till your CPU's pegged out or something like that, for example.
Very cool. So based on past performance?
Yes. So it'll look at historical collected performance data from the data warehouse, and then it will predict when you would actually go over your set threshold, but predicting into the future.
That's very cool. How much like historical data do you need for that to kind of work? Is it a large data set? I've got no idea.
So the more data, the more accurate, but I haven't gotten far enough to testing that. So I'm using some of the machine learning tools I just found through a quick Google, and I guess more data, better modeling. but
Okay.
luckily SCOM is good at holding data in the data warehouse and in a nice strong format.
That's true. That will certainly help for AI and machine learning more specifically.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Really cool. So I wish you the best of luck. I hope you managed to make it what you were hoping it to be, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow and see if what you've built matches what you've just said there and what changes. Thank you very
Perfect.
much.
Hopefully it goes smooth. Thanks.
Indeed. Good luck. So clearly, Nathan, you had a challenging challenge, which is good. I'm really interested to see what you actually built and what it looks like. So enough waffle for me. Let's share your screen and see what it looks like.
Yeah, let's start with the fun stuff that I'm sure everyone's thrilled. So
I'm scared already.
Yeah. After going through it, I ended up with a singular spectrum analysis. So it's a spectral estimation based on an embedded time series. This is how it works, but I'll minimize it because I doubt there's any interest there. So when I ran out of time, what I was doing is I was creating an executable that you could run in SCOM, and then also going to create a UI because it'd be no fun to say like, hey, it's running in the background, trust me. And that's when I hit the split. So I finished the UI, and then the executable still needs to be just wired up to SCOM to run it. But I finished the UI because that would be a much cooler demo to look at it. So to go in here, we're going to pick on one of the cookdown off 16, and then you just set some credentials, all of which would come from SCOM when it was implemented as an executable, but the UI needs some to be passed in. And then you just need to select, let's look at, say, logical disk here, and megabytes free for an example. You just need to select an entity, which of course you'd only have to do once and then figure it out, and SCOM would just run it. But for our UI, we'll select SCOM02 on the D disk. And you'll see on the left here, I have historical readings for the 28th of November up until the 30th. And then it's actually used the SSA forecasting, the singular spectrum analysis, to proceed from the 30th all the way up to the 4th of December using the historical information. And so this kind of delving long ways outside of SCOM, but that was part of the task. The configuration up here on the right is what is used along with the data from the data warehouse to train the forecasting model. And then we forecast out. So as you can see here, it looks like the disk is very slowly going down. 15 gigs, 19 megs, 15 gigs, 18 megs. And you can see the model kind of figures the same thing with down and then an occasional jump somewhere. Well, it looks like it just slowly tapers down. And with a confidence of 95%, we can say a lower bound and an upper bound. So that one's kind of boring. I found what's probably a serious issue for us to look into. When I looked at the C drive on our management server, you can see the readings on this one go from 4 gigs on a patch day down to 18 megs. So
yeah, that's a problem. This is our actual lab, right? So we have to actually deal with this like tomorrow.
We'll have to actually deal with this. But then if you go over and look, yeah, you can see we're down at 0 and 1 meg that we're bouncing. The forecasting now becomes much more volatile just because you've hit the bottom, and you can see the lower bound and the upper bound based on that 95th percentile are far wilder, just because there's so much volatility that the template was unable to give you a narrow binding. So then the idea of implementation was to take this and then run it with, whether it's CPU or something, run it out a week or two and say like, yeah, you're about to hit, we're about to run out of this resource based on our forecasting.
Very cool. Oh, where to start? Oh, judges, what are your thoughts? Let's start there before I witter on.
Yeah, feel free to ask questions on.
I'm almost speechless right now because the complexity of the task and approach, and also the methods used, within just 24 hours. There are whole teams which are working on such issues and challenges, and it's I'm really speechless, Nathan. It's a really great thing, and I think it will be a great start for the future for SCOM to just for the guys who are developing this to get more ideas based on what we just saw, and maybe to one day implement this and to have this view in SCOM. Thank you for that. It's really super exciting for me to just look at it, and also curious what the other guys think.
Oh yeah, I'm also very excited on, seeing at least, the forecasting has always been something which was, missing in SCOM, and what people have been working on sometimes, right? But then quickly they kind of stopped working on it. So there were some possibilities, like I said earlier, but yeah, nobody's ever caught on and kept dealing with this stuff. And it is actually very interesting because you actually do want to see beforehand when you reach a critical path. So what you normally do is you use the thresholds, right? So if you set your threshold far enough away from the end, let's say from the 100%, you put it at 90%. And if you want to be more on time, you put it at 80%. So that was a trick you could use, seeing something coming. But this will actually try and predict when you are reaching the actual 0 point. And that is very interesting indeed.
And I thought there was some exciting stuff if you had looked at the distance between the upper and the lower bound to just change the importance of that warning too, to say this isn't very volatile, so it's important, or like, hey, you're all over the place, so you just need to manually look at this because I can't make sense of what the data is. But with that lower and upper bound, you now have the data you might need to at least make that decision, because it'll tell you within a 95% confidence it'll be between those based on what you passed it in.
Yeah, the confidence part is good in this, indeed. Yeah.
Cash, how about you? Thoughts?
Yep. Completely spellbound. Right. I mean, the solution looks so simple. At the end of the day, when you look at the ending of a movie or the solution of anything, the problem, it always looks so simple. But then the thought flow that has put at the back end by Nathan, that this has been fabulous. And I'm sure the data or the forecast gets more and more refined, more and more actual, with more historical data. Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, great work, Nathan.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So I'm assuming you didn't write. Did you write a machine learning engine?
Yeah,
Or did you find
any
something?
data science like education? Microsoft has ML.net, which interacts well with C#. So for something where you need 24 hours, of course, is a short window. But yeah, I was able to leverage a lot of what ML.net has to do some of that time series forecasting.
Okay,
and it
that
is
makes a
written
bit
in
more sense.
4.7.2, which means it might even fit into the SCOM console. That was my stretch goal.
That would have been very cool.
The solution within this time frame, building the UI and presenting the whole thing, it's really hell of a job. It's just amazing.
Thank you. And the source code is up on GitHub. We'll share it out after this, so there's nothing cooked down or squared up specific in there, so you can take it, play with it. Interested to hear how it works for other people. It'll take up to 10,000 rows from your data warehouse to do your training, and then it'll train your model and see how it goes from there.
The thing, I'm not a judge, but the thing I really like about this approach is the fact that you've basically used an existing engine, which means that someone else could use that existing engine. So anyone looking to replicate this, obviously they've got the code, but they also have the engine. And Cash, thinking about potential, like seriously thinking about potential futures for the SCOM product. If it's a Microsoft engine, you have the secret sauce already, which is great. Yeah, fantastic to see. Are there any other comments, any other questions from our judges? Silence, spellbound silence. It sounds
Not
like.
yet.
Well, that is exciting. Cool. Well, there's one thing that we have to do before we move on, which is to hear about your charity, Nathan, which is the South London Christmas Dinner Charity. So tell us more.
Yeah. So I'm actually going down there this Christmas as well. It's for people who were raised in either foster homes or an institutional type home. When they leave in the age range of like 18 to 25, Christmas is a very quiet period. So these guys set up Christmas dinners and invite them back. They actually cab them in to different locations. And so there'll be about 25 people there and then us volunteers. And it's just kind of to make it fun for people that don't have a family to go back to at Christmas.
Another very worthy charity. Well, I wish you good luck. We'll see how you fare. All right, thank you. So moving on then to our third and final contestant of the day, Scott Moss. Scott Moss's challenge was to distribute a UI through monitoring agent to servants and clients. From the UI, admins can access different services where they order and set up monitoring locally. So essentially self-service monitoring driven by UI on individual servers. I have sad news to report though, however. Scott is not here he's not with us today. He couldn't make it in the end, so we have nothing to show. But there is a silver lining. In the chat, I see a comment from Vladimir, which I'm going to pop on screen quickly. She says he'd like to participate but can't. If the reason you can't participate is due to sort of time with the fact that this is happening right now, I've got some good news for you. Because Scott was unable to make it and to therefore complete this idea, I'm going to throw this open to the community. So one of my props is some Lego. It's real. This isn't a prop. This is real Lego. Anyone that is out there watching this right now that can build this solution by Christmas could be in the running with winning that Lego. It's about $120 worth of Star Wars Lego. And so if you think you're up to the challenge, Vladimir, or anyone else out there, I'd be very up to throwing that open to you and seeing what you come up with. If you do happen to have a few moments spare and happen to build something, please do email your solutions to hello@scomathon.com. I really hope someone takes up the challenge. I'd like to get rid of some Lego. And of course, we want to get this solution built for the community. What it does mean is that the competition, is now a 50-50 race. So Anders and Nathan, your chances just got a bit better of winning. Though sad news for the community because we only have 2 solutions to judge. So Anders' charity was for kids, but he's not here to talk about it. So we're going to move on and get to what we've all been waiting for, which is the point where we judge these solutions. So we're going to start with Bob as your top of my list right now. Bob, what are your thoughts on the solutions we've seen? And ultimately, who is your winner?
Well, thank you for keeping me at the top of your list, first of all. I actually love seeing, like the things that were created. It's the creativity of this. First of all, Anders. Of course, Anders also had to deal with, simply said, problems. Like the power problem, losing some code, not having any SCOM there to just plug in the code into, so to actually show something turning green or red or having an alert. So there's nothing you can do about it right now. That's what the problem is with these live events or 24-hour events. It's out of his power. Obviously, have a look at running SCOM in the cloud soonish, so you can you can run it from there. Just saying, I like the approach. There's to have a flexible PowerShell script where you can input different types of data, and you can actually pull out the results from there. So I like that very much. Nathan also had a great solution there. Of course, it didn't go all the way into SCOM, so into a SCOM console. But again, that's also a time limitation that you have in this, right? Because you can either build it here or build something there, but not do everything together. That's usually the challenge. And of course, as Nathan already expected, and what he said in the beginning, yes, we did throw him a bone which was too big to chew.
That was the idea.
So Nathan, yes, you were right. But I really like to see the results, and like it takes some figuring out. And yes, you can use things which are there already. You don't have to come up with something completely new and build something new. Just make the best use of what you have. And again, that is also the flexibility and creativity that we are looking for, I would say. So let's move on to another judge.
I agree. So your vote goes to is the one piece I didn't quite catch there.
Oh, I didn't catch the question.
Who wins? Who's your winner?
Okay, so for this time, I will vote Nathan.
Okay.
Also, simply because there was a little bit more to show. I know, again, reasons why, but in the end, we have to go by what we can see. So that's why I was swinging that way.
Makes sense. Thank you for your votes and thank you for your comments. Great stuff. Stoyan, I'm going to go to you next. What are your thoughts?
First, let me say that I would really much welcome your initiative with the Lego, because this way you could draw other skilled developers to do a really nice solution. Like, for example, Vladimir, whose comment we saw on the screen. And then back to the contest. I think both contestants got a pretty hard task to accomplish within the 24 hours. So I would also put myself on their place and how I would approach each of the tasks. And this got me thinking. The idea behind the 5-drop management pack, it sounded simple, but it isn't that simple. At the end of the day, you can put up a solution or code which will do something similar, and the complexity of the task compared to the one Nathan got was a bit low. Compared, of course, was a bit lower. And the fact also that Nathan had the possibility not only to do the whole thinking or how to approach or to solve the problem, but also got to build a UI which gets the data from the data warehouse, evaluates it according to the model, and then presents a nice output to it. For me personally, I would vote for Nathan. I really like the approach of vendors, but because of the complexity of Nathan's tasks and also the level of completeness of his solution, it's drawing my vote to Nathan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, well, there we go. We have 2 of 4 potential judges in. So we've got Akash. If Akash agrees, that could be the deciding vote, depending on what the community does. Let's go to Akash next and get your comments and ultimately who your vote goes to.
Thank you. I thought my vote didn't matter because 2 of them already voted for Nathan. But yeah, you put me in the tight spot now. Having said that, right, again, both of the solutions were a little ambiguous, but at the same time, the AI side of things looked a little creamy and little exciting. What Anders did come up with was a very specific scoped problem that he solved for, and that was really great. Unfortunately, the time that he got for was unfortunately not utilized due to various logistical issues. Again, great work from Anders, and for Nathan's work, as Stoyan highlighted, right, the completeness and the well-roundedness of the solution, that was something that was a real takeaway. And although the solution looked really simple, but I'm sure there was a lot of thought process put behind it on what to present and how do we go about predicting or what are the parameters to showcase and going ahead with the filter option, what specific class that you want to go ahead and predict, right? So that was a really a good structure being about. Having said that, I wish Anders had more time to go about completing his thought flow as well. Since that was kind of a miss, my vote is going with Nathan as well. I'm sorry.
It's going with Nathan. Okay, good. So I'm not in a tough spot because there's no tiebreaker, which is where I come in. I have no vote in this game. So the judges have spoken. There's only one view left to bring into account, which is that of you, those watching this live. So let's have a look and see how our community have voted. So, all right, so the response is in. And Nathan, you have an overwhelming majority there with exactly three quarters of the vote going to you. So there we are. We have our winner. So it's with great pleasure that I crown you this year's HackaSCOM winner. So thank you very much, Nathan. Let's get you up on stage and get your thoughts.
Very exciting. Thank you. Yeah, it's too bad that Anders lost power, but hopefully we can get that ready for the community.
Yes,
kind of
yes.
catch up afterwards and pass that around so people can use that.
One of those things. Yeah, that is a shame. Anders has said in the chat that he is also voting for Nathan as the winner, so that's good to hear. There
very
is, of
kind
course,
of you, Anders. Thank you.
Indeed, it is very kind of you. There is ultimately, one winner. Who is none of the above, and that is you, the SCOM community, because you ultimately get to take away everything that's been built here today. So that's really, really awesome. So all that's left to do is to say thank you to all our contestants and to judges. If we get all the contestants and, of course, keep the judges up, this is one of those moments where if you could hear everyone, they'd all be at home clapping. Thank you very much for giving up your time, your evening, and your life to this challenge, and ultimately to the SCOM community. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone out there does too. Everything that's been built, we're going to be putting on scomathon.com in some shape or form, in blog form, with links to wherever the content lives. So everyone will be able to get what has been built and to work on it. Thank you very much, everyone. All that's left to do now is to wrap up by talking about some things that are coming up next. So every year we run our big SCOM survey, which runs from literally today at scomathon.com/survey, which is where we ask you, the community, to tell us what your plans are for SCOM for the future and for the present time. It's really useful for understanding what people are actually doing with SCOM and for big picture things. And I know Akash and the SCOM product team draw from it when it comes to planning roadmaps and the like, as well as obviously other sources. So please do go to scomathon.com/survey and do complete it. It's shorter this year to try and make it a bit more concise, but we really love to hear from you, the community. I'd like to say thank you to Squared Up, one of our sponsors this year, who are the not-so-secret source for SCOM success, effortlessly surfacing data from SCOM in the form of these dashboards you saw from Sean earlier on. We have the ability to map things, also shown by Sean earlier on today. So you can see the critical path between the components that make up your applications. And as also you saw from Sean earlier on today, that's a bad tongue twister for me, you can fix SCOM's blind spots with Squared Up's plugin architecture to bring things in from the cloud and on-prem, which is really good and solves the pain of management pack authoring. Then we have Cookdown, which is my piece of the puzzle, where our primary product is Connection Center, which is all about connecting SCOM to where your data is. That could be pulling in alerts from wherever they live via webhook. So an example of some of the places that support pushing via webhook, but also pushing alerts out of SCOM as well. We have some dedicated connectors for the likes of ServiceNow, Sharewell, Slack, and Teams, but ultimately you can push anywhere you like with webhooks. This is the product that Nathan Foreman has had his hands in. So if you're interested to see what he's built and we're now selling, go to cookdown.com, where you can get a free trial of Connection Center and, of course, a demo, and ask us anything. And our final sponsor is Silect. Silect make the whole process of authoring management packs super easy with their products. They have multiple products, and all of the information you need is silect.com/scomathon. But the thing that they're talking about right now, their new product, is their Silect Operations Portal, which makes simplifying the management of your cloud platform simpler. So do go to silect.com/scomathon to go check it out. So all that's left to do is to say thank you very much once more to everyone, from the judges to the contestants, to you for watching at home. It's only because of you that we do these events. So if you want us to do more, please do give us feedback. We're open to it and engage with everything we do here at Scomathon. Until next time we meet, thank you very much. It's good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are from us. Until next time, thank you very much. Goodbye.